I'm not hearing you. Good morning, everybody. These seats that are here, all of them, please. So you are welcome to our Sunday morning leadership school, and we're excited to begin this way. I believe you have all registered. If you are yet to register, let me see your hands. All right, so please, before the close of service today, find a way. The link is online, so you can just register. By the time you are coming back next Sunday, your registration number would have been forwarded to you. I don't want the side talks from that angle, please. Your registration number would have been sent to you. You're welcome. So this morning, like we said, we will be considering leadership communication. What did I call it? I can't hear you. Leadership communication. If time permits us, we are going to get into another area, which is building social network. Quickly, let's go to the book of Genesis. Let's go to the book of Genesis. I'm waiting for this movement around to settle down, please. Or shall I let everybody settle down? Genesis chapter 11, from verse 1 to 9. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us now make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. That is the power of one language. The power of effective communication. Verse 7. Go to, let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. So this is a very, very strategic story about the essence and the importance of effective communication. We saw in that passage, when these people were communicating effectively, even God said, what these people are about to do, there is nothing we can do about it. They will achieve their goal, they will achieve their objectives, because they are united in thought, they are united in vision, and they are able to communicate that effectively to what? So let's quickly look at the definition of leadership communication. It is the process of transmitting information, ideas, and messages to team members, stakeholders, and other audiences in order to achieve set goals and objectives. It is the process of transmitting information, ideas, and messages to team members, stakeholders, and other audiences in order to achieve organizational goals. That is the definition of that we are going to work with as we look at leadership communication. But let me quickly take us back like one step, and somebody should remind me of our, let me call it our legendary definition of leadership. Who can remind me how we defined leadership in the past? Yes? All right. Leadership is the ability to help people move from where they are to where they are supposed to be. It is helping people move. This is the question, and this is the conversation today. Is it possible to help people move without communicating with those people? Is it possible? No. Now, when you are talking about communication, don't just think about talking. So there is a particular gesture, there is a particular demeanor that comes from someone, and other people just follows. So leadership communication is important if you are going to be effective in leadership. So today, what I'm going to do today is just introduction. By next week, we are going to move to levels of leadership communication. We are going to look at negotiation. We are going to look at conflict resolution and many other things that involves communication. We are just looking at communication as it involves leadership. The story we read, these guys were united and communication helped to solidify their relationship because they are communicating effectively. They understood themselves. The purpose was clear. Everything was in alignment and the work was progressing. So that means in a situation where people are not collaborating well in your unit or whatsoever, where people are not even motivated enough, where your team is not as productive as supposed to be, probably will check. One of the things that is lacking may be what? Effective communication. Because sometimes when the vision is not clear, when people don't even know exactly what they expected to do, they will do what they think they should do. That was that Tower of Babel. It's not that they were not talking. Hello? They didn't go deaf and dumb. People were still talking. But what I say is not what the recipient understood. So it gets me a pan and the person brings a knife and I get angry. And that was how the whole thing scattered. So we're going to just look at basic things today as we prepare for the lesson subsequently. The first thing I want to show us is what leaders should communicate. What leaders should communicate. Number one, leaders should communicate vision. Leaders should communicate what? Vision. The goals and the objectives. It must be properly communicated that everybody on the team properly understands it. I have shared here a story before of a young man who worked as a janitor in the facility where they were building the first spaceship, the first rocket that will be sent to the moon, and the rest of that. I can't remember the name of the American president then that was in charge, that was sponsoring that project. So one of the days, the president walked into the facility and saw this janitor. And the work of the janitor is to clean. So the janitor was mopping the floor. He was mopping the floor, and he told him, "Oh, good morning, Mr. Man. What do you do here? And the man said, good morning, Mr. President. I am working tirelessly to put man on the moon. He's not an engineer. He doesn't know the YDX. He doesn't even know how that thing inside that place is operating. But he feels he's part of the people that are going to put man on the moon. That is how much that man understands the vision, such that he sees himself in the vision. It is communicated over and over and over and over in a way that the people now own the vision. So as leaders, you must communicate, oh, this semester is what we are going to do. This month is what we are going to do. That vision must be communicated in such a way that the people you are speaking into now own the vision. For instance, Jesus communicated his vision. And many people today have carried the vision on their head to the point that they are even ready to die for the sake of preaching the gospel. But remember that preaching of the gospel was not their own prime. It was not a vision of themselves. It was a vision of God that was communicated to mankind. Then mankind carried that vision on their head until they see it work. So leaders must communicate what? I did not hear you. Must communicate with. Number two, leaders must communicate values. Values. So it's not just about the vision, but you must communicate values. What are the values that guide what we do? Why do we do the things the way we do them? Because every organization has different objectives, but there are cultures and ways of life that would help us achieve that objective. So if we say, oh, by December, we must have achieved this. Maybe one of the values we have is the values of excellent performance. So we don't just feel that we must achieve the end. We must achieve the end in a particular way. So leaders communicate values. And in fact, it has been said in many leadership forums that the leader of the team of the organization actually forms the first culture of the organization. So how you see others is a reflection of how the leader is. So that's why sometimes when leaders come to complain to me, I look at the leader first. Because the culture, the value system of the people you are leading will first of all be of your own. Later, there might be systems that are put in place to now redesign values where everybody will put their input. But if a man opens his business and as the owner of the business, he arrives there by 9 o'clock, he cannot begin to talk about come early by 8 o'clock. So everybody would just simply align with him indirectly, involuntarily, just how they will behave. If the man has a way of just misbehaving in the office and talks anyhow, he speaks rashly to everybody, that will be the language of organization. If they begin to hear that it's not correct, if they just begin to speak harshly at people, everybody will think that's the right way to speak. It becomes the culture. So leaders, whatever you are doing, you are not just doing. Whatever you are doing is communicating to people. And we are going to look at that as we move on. That is not just about verbal communication. We have non-verbal communication. If somebody said, your actions speak so loud that I cannot hear what you are saying. Your action speaks what? So loud that I cannot hear what you're saying. Leaders must also communicate changes. So if something is going to change, if there is need for adjustment, leaders must communicate change. It is important. People should not be guessing. People should not be left in assumption. Have we changed the way we do things? If, okay, tomorrow rehearsal is going to be by 4:30 and it has always been by 3:30, that information must be properly communicated. Everybody must understand it. Everybody must understand why the change. Because one of the things, in fact, one of the things that affect effective communication is that people don't like to accept change. And that is why it is part of the leader's responsibility to communicate change. People should not be guessworking. People should not be assuming. Leaders must communicate change. Leaders must communicate hope and optimism. Leaders must communicate what? Hope and what? Optimism. When everything seems to be gloomy, there must be a level of hope that is coming from the leader that keeps everybody moving, that keeps everybody going, even when things are falling apart. In the days of David, he cried with them, but the Bible said David did what? Encouraged himself in the Lord, because he needed to put hope in everybody. Once the leader loses hope, everybody have lost hope. The Bible says, smite the shepherd, and the sheep will do what? Will scatter. So leaders must consistently communicate what? Hope. Why do we all celebrate the man, Martin Luther King, today? I have a dream. He communicated hope to the black community, telling them that one day, in this community, in this nation, we will have equal rights. Leaders must communicate what? Hope and optimism. When I was much younger and things were tough at home, probably we don't even have good food to eat, my mother will come and tell us that, see, just manage this, because that time, sometimes it's only gari we have, and we have to sip that gari in the morning and it is cold. So we learn how to use warm water to sip gari so that it will not be cold. So then we're supposed to be feeling bad, like, oh, what kind of life is this? But my mother has a way of presenting it to us that it makes us look we are eating the best of food. Mother would say, this thing we are eating now is just to hold our body so that we will still be alive till the time when the real food will arrive. At the time will come, we'll be able to eat whatever we want to eat in life. But this one is just to keep us alive. Because if we don't eat this one, we will die before the breakthrough comes. This one is to keep us alive. There is no better way to communicate hope than that. That in the midst of when it is not working, we can still see a ray of hope. Leaders must learn to communicate what? Hope. You can't communicate despair. You can't communicate all hope is lost. So that's not good. Leaders must communicate approval and disapproval. Leaders must communicate what? I did not hear you. Give it back to me. Approval and disapproval. Meaning, if somebody had done well, what is expected of you? Communicate to the person. Thumbs up. That's good. And everybody, yeah, see how that guy sang today. See how that guy stood to worship at the congregation. That's good. That's how we want it to be. You must communicate approval, and you must also communicate what? Disapproval. No, that's not the best way to do that thing. I think there's a better way to do that. But you know, most of the time, leaders communicate disapproval louder, more emphatic, continuously than they communicate approval. If you do well, they mention it in passing. But if you don't do well, they continue to refer to it year after year. But that's not good. It will not bring motivation. So leaders must communicate what? Both approval and disapproval. Let me move to something else. We're going to come back to that, hopefully. Let me just tell us what I feel is the essence and the benefit of effective leadership communication, because we may not come back to this. Effective leadership communication, number one, enhances team engagement. It enhances what? Team members' engagement. So if you have 15 person on your team and you want the 15 of them to put their best foot forward, because the principle, I think it's the Parkinson law that says that 20% of the people, 80-20 rule says 20% of the people gives us 80% of the results, which is not good for a team. So if you have 100 people and only 20 people are giving you the results, imagine that it is 100 of them that is putting the same level of work that the 20 is putting. Imagine the results. And if you look at it in all your units, that's always the problem. There are just 1, 2, 3 persons who are always there. Bring money, they are the one. Come on time, they are the one. Rehearse well, they are the one. Wear uniform, they are the one. And there is this group of people also, they remain the problem. They are the same people that come late. They are the same people that don't contribute money. They are the same people that complain when rehearsal is closing late. They are the same people that say they don't have uniform. The same group of people. So, but when you have effective leadership communication, it enhances engagement. I have said it when we talked about team building, I think in the last 2 or 3 quotes, and I said there are basically 2, 3 things that binds team members together. What did I say the first one is? Common goal. In the kingdom of darkness, for instance, there is no love there. There is no love in the kingdom of darkness. What binds them together in the kingdom of darkness is what? Common goal. You will read in the Bible that there are 5 kings who don't like each other. But when it is time to fight a common enemy, the 5 kings suddenly becomes what? Friend. They come in alliance. So, common goal binds people together. The second thing that binds people together is love. Then the third thing that binds people together is effective what? Communication. Even in marriage, even in relation, they will tell you the most critical thing in any relationship is what? Communication. If I love you and I don't know how to say it to you the way you want to hear it, the love is still not what? Communicated. So it enhances team members' engagement. It helps to align team members to the goals and the vision. Effective communication aligns team members with goals and vision. As you keep reminding them, this is the goal, this is the vision, it will continue to align them towards that objective. Number 3, it fosters collaboration. You will see in some instances, the technical unit is beefing the media unit. The media unit is having issues with the choir. What is the problem is that there is no effective communication, so there is no collaboration. If you want another unit, another group, another thing to collaborate together for effectiveness, it has to come with communication. And that's why we're going to teach you on negotiation, conflict resolution. How do you negotiate with these people so that, okay, they give you leverage. They can sacrifice a little for your sake. The same request, you go to ask somebody, can you do this for me, when it will inconvenience that person? That person may say no. But another person presents that same argument, and the person says, okay, I think we can manage it. What has changed? No, they have told me a lot of, 16 units, when we clean on Saturday, after we had gone, the choir and all those people who will still be walking around would disturb the whole arrangement. Now, many of those things are reported to me for me to deal with them. Great. But when I teach you this communication, you will discover that you don't need to come and tell me. One of the leaders called me yesterday and I told him, this thing you're calling me for is telling me that I should come and head your unit. Because the reason why I placed you there is to solve this problem. So if you are referring this problem back to me, you are just telling me, sir, I am not competent to manage these people. Sir, my unit member, they don't used to come out. My unit member, if they are giving you problem and I have to come and solve the problem, then I should take up your job as the leader of that unit. And it is communication that will foster collaboration. It will foster sharing. Effective communication will reduce error. Effective communication will improve efficiency. Effective communication will also enhance motivation. People will be able to put in their best foot forward consistently until the result comes. Effective communication removes resistance. It removes what? Resistance. In most cases also, effective communication removes rebellion. You see a child growing in a house, they give the child instruction, the child is just, even what they are telling the child to do, the child knows the best thing for me to do. But because it's coming from you, I say no, rebellion. It's because there is communication issue. It's the way they have been speaking to that child from time that have made the child to grow rebellion. So, in a system where, let me just say this as I close. I was invited to speak to graduating students at Redemption Academy, one of the best Christian schools in Akwa Ibom. So they are final year students. I was to speak to them. So when I got to the class, there were quite, I think, 80 of them. When I got there that morning, there is this group of 6, 7, 8 guys who sat in the front, indifferent. Anything anybody was telling them, they were not just talking. Good morning. Are you happy to be here? Anything. They were not just ready to respond. So I engaged them, tried to connect with them, made them to sit because they were sitting in front and we were talking behind them. I made them to turn around and sit. So I started joking with them, drawing them. By the time I was done, what amazed me, by the time I was done, they were already free, expressing themselves. But that was not the real high point of it. One of the guys came at me and said, "Sir, I'm so sorry for how I reacted at the beginning. As we were speaking, my heart opened up and I was so excited." He became my friend. He got my number. I got his number. But when I entered that class, I don't know what transpired between them and the teacher that was there. They were just not, you know how those boys can be. They were not just going to give a damn. Just finish this thing. Let us go. We all sit down. So you can have those people in your unit. You can have them in your team. But there is how to remove that rebellion and resistance from them. And all of this thing comes from what? Effective leadership communication. Honest communication builds trust. And if there is any way to expand and enhance your influence, is to build trust. Effective communication helps to resolve conflict through dialogue and negotiation. Through dialogue and negotiation. This is where we are going to call it a day today. We are going to continue next week as we begin to look at levels of communication. That's where we're going to get deeper into all forms of communication. Please, I encourage you not to come late again. I encourage you to be here on time. Next week, 8 a.m. on the dot. Sunday morning leadership school will continue. Were you blessed at all today? All right, so we continue. We said it that we're going to give certificate at the end of this cohort so that others will also know that you have participated in leadership school. We're going to go straight to Sunday school. Please, registration is important for this Sunday morning leadership school. It is only those who register that will be issued certificates. If you have not registered, let me see your hands. All right, Chooks, make sure you send